going on, guys? It's Ricky with Tech Solutions. So just another recap on today's trading. So today was the main day. Snapchat was released and supposedly was started at $17, right? Opened at about a little bit over $23 and ended up hitting highs of about $26.05. I'm going to do a little recap and talk about that one, but I'm going to talk to you guys about simply my mistakes today. So overall, based on the past 2 weeks, I've seen very little loss because I cut my losses pretty short and I was sticking to that. So today, I was trading the same exact stocks that I was trading yesterday, so that's NUGT, DRYS, and CIE. I shouted it out in the morning, and there's been, in a sense, an issue within our group. Pretty much what I wanted to talk about was, although I'm going to be doing my recaps and sharing my mistakes for today and what I could improve on, is to also just touch on the important part of, although I'm deciding to trade on a specific stock, it does not mean that everyone within the group has to follow. Within this group, because I feel like a lot of new members didn't really understand what it is that they were getting into, decided to mimic my trade. And although, again, I've had a pretty successful track sheet within the past couple of weeks, there's days like these that if you continue to follow and mimic what it is that I'm doing and you don't truly understand what it is that you're trading, me as a trader, although I didn't do well today, the losses that I took, I understand it and I can deal with the loss, right? For those new traders that jump in and don't really understand what it is that they're getting themselves into, a lot of you guys can discourage yourself as an investor because of the loss that you could have seen today, and not knowing how to cut your losses or not knowing the proper tools and just based on experience on how to properly deal with loss. I think that's a big issue within this group, and that's an area of improvement that I've been able to notice. I definitely don't want any suggestions, and that's why this was one of the first, if not second weeks that I started talking about exactly what it is that I chose to trade before the market opened. And although it was successful for the past 2 weeks and we were able to do pretty well, today was just an example of why not every single trade that I do, or not any trade that I do, should be mimicked if you don't truly understand and can make the proper judgment yourself to see the potential in these stocks. So I'm going to do the recap, but I want to make sure from this point forward that if you guys really don't understand what it is that you guys are getting yourself into, when it comes to real money, no matter if you're trading with $1 or 10, 15, whatever it is, thousands of dollars, I'd much rather you guys, if you guys are learning at the moment, to do something called simulation trading or paper trading. So it's a series of, you could do it with TD Ameritrade, you can do it with a series of different brokerage companies that offer simulation trading. It's fake money, but it allows you to actually invest in real companies in real time. I believe there's a 20-minute delay, but although there is that delay, it gives you a better understanding on how to invest, and you can, grow as an investor. And I think that would be the biggest thing that I would like you guys to focus on. Because although I did see a loss and I got pretty upset with what it is that I lost today, based on my experience and how long I've been doing it, I can deal with it and overcome it. The whole point of this group is to share best practices and learn from each other's mistakes. And I think focusing on, as a new trader and me trying to lead by example, the best thing that I can, best advice that I can give you guys as new investors is if you don't know what it is that you're doing, a good buy point and a good sell point, can identify support, resistance, and use different indicators to know what it is, what it is that you're trading, then you should not be trading any stock whatsoever. Definitely not with real money, because once you start throwing in real money, no matter what the losses that you see, it might discourage you as a trader, and then this whole market of investing in penny stocks or investing in stocks altogether might be something that you never actually take into consideration because of a simple mistake that you could have avoided with these different rules and these different systems that we have set up for you. So I just want to give a huge shout out to those that were able to recover. I did see a couple people being able to recover some of the losses later throughout the day. That's what I was actually trying to do, and it looked like after hours I did with my trade on NUGT. Overall, I shut it out when I was trying to buy in at the support at about $9. So this one, that NUGT, is one that we've been trading quite often, and it's been on a steady decline, right? It tends to bounce very well just because of the IPO Snapchat that was released today. I felt like we saw, a really red day altogether in the market, and a lot of investors were actually focusing on that specific stock, and led to a lot of stocks actually go in the red. I actually touched base on this specific concept yesterday, and that meant CIE were trading at a certain support and resistance over and over again. And although that was great, I knew that that support and resistance wasn't always going to be there. And I was waiting for the break, but unfortunately today was that break, and a lot of us saw a good amount of loss. So I'm going to talk to you guys about my mistakes, what I ended up doing pretty bad today, and what I could improve on in effort to promote growth for all those that are watching. So I initially got in when I alerted the team at about $9. I bought in first at the bounce. I wanted to get in at a low point, but I didn't go all in. I bought in $2,000 worth of NUGT at a little bit right at the $9 mark, and right away it ended up breaking. It continued to drop, and I started to average out. There was a previous support at 850, at 873, and then I bought more there. Ended up breaking and continued to drop. I bought more at 850, and then it continued to drop. I was buying in increments of 500. And by the point that it dropped all the way to 930, that's when I went in with my last amount, and I bought in a little bit over $5,000 for NUGT. And my current average price is a little bit under 870. And although obviously based on the current price that it's at right now, it closed at 830, 829, hit highs of aftermarket hours of about 840 with a resistance at 850. So what I could have done better is, because I knew that was a support, I could have cut my losses right at that $9 mark, and I could have just caught it at the bounce. 850, it did a solid bounce. Could have ridden it from the 850 to set 870. And I want you guys to understand that although NUGT was a stock that was over $10, now it's 80 cents or $8. So therefore, we only need to see an 80-cent gain to see that 10% growth, right? So understanding that with this 30% or 30 a 20-cent growth, I mean, we're nearly a quarter way there. So I mean, that's not even that bad. If I received a small loss there, but then can make it up with this initial bounce of being able to identify the old resist or old support, because the old support was at 873, because that was the 52 or not the 52-week low, but that was a really strong support. Ended up breaking that, came down, bounced at 850, and then it hit highs of 873. And the reason, like we say, old supports become new resistance levels. Ended up breaking below 850, hit lows initially of about like 830, went back up to, again, old supports become new resistance levels, couldn't break above it, came back down, and then touched 816, and then now that's the new support. So what I could have done better is cut losses sooner like I usually do, and being able to identify these support and resistance levels a little bit better, so I can, instead of trying to average down and catch it at the bounce, I continue to minimize my loss, and I felt like I was just trying to catch up and kind of average out throughout the entire day. So I should have just cut my losses, got in at a better bounce, so could have waited a little bit more for that EMA line to show upward momentum, and then lock in the profits at the certain old supports, which are new resistance levels. But again, that's my area for improvement. What do I expect for NUGT? Based on the resistance that it has at 850, I really do believe that NUGT, just based on the history for the past couple of months, it has hit lows of $8, even $7. So that's not anything that I'm super surprised. I mean, it has hit lows of about nearly 500 or $5.50 within the past 3 months. So is it possible for it to come back up? Of course. It came from $5.50 to highs of $13. So that potential is definitely there. NUGT, although it is a different type of gold company, it is one that's based on gold, and it does fluctuate based on how the prices of gold are doing. So overall, I do see the potential coming back for it. As a day trader, do I want to hold and see that potential and see that growth? That's just something that you're going to have to decide on if you want to be a part of it. But again, I think the biggest area improvement for myself is being able to successfully identify supports and resistance and buy in at those, when it bounces, writing it up with this EMA line, and sell at these, old supports, which are new resistance levels, because it's all about identifying, good buy points, good sell points, and where to cut your losses, and doing it quickly, right? Not getting emotional and not getting just stuck to a certain stock and trying to catch up all day, because that's like the worst feeling. So that's definitely my area of improvement on NUGT. I did end up still holding this one, so I'm still down a couple $100, but I haven't sold, so I can't say that I've lost that amount, right? But I'm going to talk about the 2 stocks that I did take a loss on. And one of them was CIE. So I initially got in, I alerted the team when I got in at 66 cents. Just because the previous support that it had ended up breaking below, and then I tried to average out, and then it broke right below that support as well. I did well with that one, cutting my losses. I lost $50 with CIE. Continued to drop. There's a couple traders based on our alerts, and that's the whole point of this group. When I decide to jump in, right, and then all of a sudden it takes a dip and then starts to bounce. I've taken my lost for the day. But because I'm sharing it with the group, what I'm trying to do is expose people to new opportunities. So if they can see, oh wow, this guy took a loss, but again, we're day traders. It's all about catching it at the bounce. So if we can identify, which I let the team know when it bounced at 58 cents, there's a trader that got in at 60 cents, hit highs of already 63, hit highs of 66. So if he would have held throughout the day and sold at 66, he would have in a sense seen 10% growth with my simpler. Although I took a loss, the whole point of this group is to help one another out. So although I took a loss, yes, it sucks for me, but what I can do as part of a member within this group is share my mistake that I made in effort to help someone else out, and what I would do in a sense, if I would get in at that point. Because most likely, if you take a loss in a certain stock, you're most likely, or based on my own experience, I don't jump right into it all over again, right? So that's just my suggestion. That's what we do with TechBot Solutions. It's all about sharing best practices, sharing mistakes, an effort to benefit one another. So I hope that makes sense. So my third trade was DRYS, and what I did poorly with this one as well was my initial buy point being at 177. I ended up getting out on this one at 165.9. So I held way too long on this one. And again, I didn't cut my losses. I try to average out, and I did very poor on this one. I saw my biggest loss on this one altogether, and it was $185 for my trade on DRYS, and it hit lows of 157. So when I ended up buying it, it bounced initially here at this low point of about 162, hit a resistance at about 170, which is common or just understandable because of the old support that it had right around 170, so it becomes a new resistance, and then hit a support throughout aftermarket hours based on the previous support it had around 157, and it held pretty well above that point. Hit highs of about 163. So overall, didn't do well today, as you guys can see based on my just track sheet for today, right? Big areas of improvement are, and I know a lot of people don't agree with me, and that's totally okay. It's just my style of trading, and it's definitely something that's led to my success. But it's cutting losses right below the support. There's people that say I need to give it 2% potential so it could bounce, and I don't want to cut losses right away because just based on my history, I cut losses, then it bounces right away. Whatever works for you works for you. I'm just sharing what works for me, and it's not going to work for everyone else, and that's why we have this group. Just because I have a certain style of trading that works for me doesn't mean it's going to be a certain style or a certain concept that you guys can utilize to make work for yourself. But what I want you guys to focus on is, in a sense, the concept of what it is that I use and the different rules that I set up to be successful when it comes to trading. I'm usually very determined and very consistent with my rules, and I usually don't break them, and that's what leads to my success. So I want to make sure that whatever rules or whatever just qualifications that you make for yourself when it comes to trading, to stick by them, because those are the ones that are going to lead to your success, and those that are consistent and patient are going to be the ones that are going to be successful. So those are my suggestions when it comes to trading penny stocks. It doesn't mean that you guys have to mimic my trades or anything like that. It means that you as a trader need to understand what kind of trader you are, and learn from other people's best practices, but just because they trade a certain way doesn't mean that you have to. So I am going to talk a little bit about Snapchat, just give it my 2 cents. Again, nothing to do. I didn't invest in this stock. There's a couple traders within our group that made a little bit of money on this one, but again, it started at $17, opened at a little bit over $23.50, hit highs, like I said, of about 26.05, came back down to the previous support on kind of where it opened at about 24.40, and kind of stayed stagnant the whole aftermarket hours. There was news that was introduced to our group that based on the TD Ameritrade just news article that's saying that Snapchat is actually valued at $10. I don't know if that actual article is completely true. It's just something that was shared within our group chat. Based on Snapchat, just all the controversial just statements that were being said about Snapchat actually not really being valid at the certain point that it was. I don't know what it is. I mean, I know what Snapchat is, but I don't know how it stands as a company. Snapchat seems more for me as a long-term stock, and I definitely did not think, based on all the hype that was going on, to be a good stock to hold because of how much it's going to fluctuate within the next couple of days. That's just my advice. I really think for the next, maybe 1 to 2 weeks, it's going to really determine, the high points and the low points of where Snapchat's going to be trading, and that's going to give us a better understanding as day traders what are good buy points and what are good, sell points. And again, I'm not here to jump in on every stock that, people just say that has potential. I'm here to, I only trade stocks that I understand, and that's just my style. I want to make sure that I'm the most successful in what it is that I choose to do. Obviously, we all make mistakes, but that's just my style of trading. I really want to understand what it is that I'm trading. So do it is what you think will lead to your success. But I believe that based on my traction, based what I've been able to notice from other investors, is that they're very disciplined and they stick to the rules and they don't break them. And when they usually break them, it's what leads to losses. So that's pretty much just, again, my feedback on today's trading. So I hope you guys found my feedback and my whole just thought process with today's trading helpful. If you guys did, please feel free to give the video a thumbs up, and I'm sorry for all those that took a loss today. Again, it's all about sharing best practices and not getting discouraged based on our trades today, but I want to make sure that we're gonna get it again tomorrow and give it the best that we can, right? So it's all about starting on a fresh start. It's all about it's all part of the game. You win some and you lose some, and if you're not okay with loss, then definitely trading is not going to be a market for you where you're going to be successful in, because that's definitely something that you have to be comfortable with, because it is part of the game. So but it's all about controlling and minimizing that loss. So thank you guys all for tuning in today. I really do appreciate it. If you guys would like to be part of my free group TechBud Solutions and be part of this group chat platform, feel free to ask to join. You can ask to join through the Facebook platform. The link is provided for you down below, and then simply you can use this link to join any of the chat rooms within our Facebook platform once you get accepted, so you can join our networking group through our group chats. Thank you guys again for tuning in. I really do appreciate all your support and all your assistance, and let's make sure to not give up, and let's try to end the week on a green note. If you guys can subscribe and like the video, again, we'd greatly appreciate it. And if all those car guys that or all those car individuals that like cars, we definitely do upload a good amount of car videos as well. Thank you again, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, guys. Baby, don't you let it go to waste.